I think my deep disdain for coons is because I don't understand how Black conservatives can ignore all of this history for the sake of the white man. Like, it makes no sense to me.
Are the most beautiful creatures in the whole world. Black people.
I'll always be there for you whenever you need me.
This for the little homies.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you can't tell by the title, we are going to be talking about the most recent Jubilee that just dropped with Amanda Seales and a bunch of coons. And I really just want to jump straight into it. My main priority, my main focus right now is to focus on facts, okay? Because again, like I noticed when I made that video talking about Gen Z and why they're so racist, I will say I'm gonna give us the benefit of the doubt because a lot of the people there was obviously a mix of millennials and Gen Z and Gen X, but the thing that remained constant was stupidity. Okay, there were hardly any facts, hardly any sources, hardly anything, just a bunch of claims, unsubstantial claims, a bunch of lies, just a bunch of lies. Because that's what conservatives do, they fucking lie. And don't let it be a coon that's a conservative, they're gonna lie some more. So, in this video, my priority, my main focus is debunking the lies that them damn coons were so committed to spreading on that damn Jubilee. Lies and also misleading statistics. So this is gonna be broken up into 4 sections, okay? We're obviously gonna have to talk about black on black crime because that was just something that they just kept on ramping up. Black on black crime, we killing each other. For some reason, apparently since black people are killing other black people, it's okay for other people to kill us as well. The second part of the video, we will be breaking down how systemic racism is real. I can't believe I have to do this. I can't believe I have to do this. We're going to talk about how systemic racism is real. It does exist and it still exists today. And for the last part of the video, we will be talking about the music industry because they were so adamant on how toxic black culture is and how we as black people are degenerates and they're the only ones that are pushing degeneracy. We're going to break that down for them. We're going to break that down because apparently for some reason, conservatives just don't read. The only thing that they read is whatever Charlie Kirk tweets and whatever Trump tweets. So let's just jump right into the video, shall we?
It's time to speak up. I have been involved in the criminal justice system since 1997. I've been a prosecutor and I've been a defense attorney. And if anyone out there thinks that our criminal justice system is blind to the race of the person in front of it, it's because you've had zero experience with the criminal justice system. I can tell you from personal experience that if my client that I'm representing is black or brown, I have to work twice as hard to make sure that their rights are protected. And even then, with all of the efforts, they generally get harsher sentences than a white client who is charged with the exact same thing. So all of you that are out there saying, well, there's more black arrests because they commit more of the crimes, shame on you. But thanks for at least letting your racism be on full display so we know who we're dealing with. Go out there and love your neighbor, especially today, your black and brown neighbors, because I promise you, they need it.
For a lot of them, like I said, they don't read, but I do. Unfortunately for them, I read a lot. So I'm going to refer to 2 books, right? But in the introduction, when we're speaking on black crime, unfortunately for y'all, we have to acknowledge the history. So this book I will be referring to, Homegoing. Homegoing, it's my favorite book. I'm so glad I read this. It's basically about 2 half-sisters who were born in Ghana. One ends up being sold off into slavery, one stays, and then the whole entire book is just their descendants and what life looked like for them, the family that stayed in Ghana, and then the family that was sold off into slavery. Very good book. We are going to focus on chapter H, okay? Each chapter is titled by the name of that descendant of whichever sisters. So H is the descendant of the half-sister that was sold off into slavery, okay? The reason why I want to refer to the chapter titled H in this book is because it talks about the time that the coons love to talk about, which was after Massa freed us. After Massa finally decided we were good enough to be freed. I know they love that era of the United States because they hate to talk about slavery. So we're gonna start with right after slavery. Remember when the white Massa man freed us finally? We're gonna talk about what they did and the conservative party, what they did after they freed us, okay? The chapter starts off with H being in jail, okay? At this point, we don't know why he's in jail. But then we soon later find out that he's in jail because he's black, okay? I'm just gonna read you some of the quotes after he realized he was in jail. So basically, okay, on the second page of the chapter, we find out that he was arrested because the white people assumed that he was looking at, or not even assumed, they lied on him and said that he was looking at some white girl. Okay, so that's why he's in jail, for looking. Remember how the coons kept on saying, oh, we're criminals and black on black crime? He did no crime, but he was arrested by York Massa. So he was arrested for looking at a white girl. And the person that he was in the cell with, his cellmate, says, don't matter if you was or wasn't. All they got to do is say you was. That's all they got to do. You think because you all big and muscled up, you safe? Nah. Them white folks can't stand the sight of you. Walking around free as you can be. Don't nobody want to see a black man look like you, walking proud as a peacock. Like you ain't got a lick of fear in you. He rested his head against the cell wall and closed his eyes for a second. Now, this is quite literally right after the Civil War, right after everybody was free. And in this chapter is so important because I learned something new when I read this chapter. I had no idea of what it looked like in America right after the Civil War ended and right after slaves were emancipated. And this gave me insight of what it looked like for black people, especially black men during that time. Now, as I mentioned earlier, H was arrested for looking at a white girl. And that's that. He was now forced to work in mines where he watched his cellmate pass away and several other black people pass away. Okay. And I was kind of like, what's going on? Well, I had no idea about this because they obviously don't teach us this in school. They obviously, how convenient. They don't teach us this in school. And I know none of them coons know about this. So I'm about to break it down. Okay. Now, I'm obviously going to be referring to, I know y'all don't like sites and y'all don't have sources and shit, but I'm going to be referring to the article uploaded by. So now, this focus, now that I want to lay it out for y'all. Right after Massa freed us, okay, they created black codes, which was what permitted H to being arrested for not doing anything, okay? I'm going to be referring to an article on history.com titled Black Codes, where they kind of let us know what exactly black codes are. And I also want to reiterate that it was the conservative party that put black codes into play. Hey, this is Editing Zelda here. And I want to touch on me saying that it was a conservative party or the conservatives that put the black codes into place. I know a coon is because they're so indoctrinated with jigabology. They're going to try and be like, well, they were Democrats. Well, they were Democrats. Here's the gag, babe. I don't give a fuck about Republican or Democrat. They both suck. And they both are racist because white people are inherently racist. Now, at the end of the day, if we're talking about the conservatism and whatever was going on back then, and we're talking about it was Democrats, at the end of the day, their ideologies still align perfectly with today's Republican Party. Are you going to acknowledge that, or do you want to ignore that? Convenient. So this is the side y'all are on, by the way. This is the side that y'all are defending. They are historically known for being racist, and this is the side that you're on, coon. So The Black Code is something the South put into place as law against Black people since they could control what laws were in place at the state level. 1865, Mississippi and South Carolina were one of the first states to pass Black codes. Okay, and here's the one law that blew my mind, right? Mississippi required Black people to have written evidence of employment for the coming year of January. If they left before the end of the contract, they are forced to give back the wages paid earlier and are subject to arrest. So you coons are basically saying historically, you know, where we get arrested more, and they deserved it because we so bad. These people could have been arrested for quitting a job. And if they quit that job, they had to give all that money back that was paid earlier. Does that sound just to you? I bet it does, coon. I bet you do think it's just. So let's proceed. South Carolina. It was illegal for a Black person to have a job other than farmer or servant unless they paid a federal tax of $10 to $100. Where the fuck was a freed man gonna find money to pay the tax of $10 to $100 if y'all won't even let him work another job other than farmer or servant? Please let me know how that's gonna work. And the coons, I would really love to know how, if you were alive back then, how you would have maneuvered this. Because by these Black codes, the only two laws that I read, it seems pretty hard to not be a criminal as a Black man. But let's proceed, okay? I'm going to be referring to the constitutioncenter.org. I don't know if y'all have ever been on that website, but it talks about it shows me the Mississippi Black Codes of 1865. An act to confer civil rights on freedmen and for other purposes. One thing that I appreciate the conservatives of back then for doing, they really didn't shy away from their racism. They're really loud and proud about it, even in when they wrote laws, because what they meant for other purposes. What are the other purposes? Is it racism? Okay. Section 3, it is illegal to marry a white person. Of course. Section 7, it is illegal to quit. Already went over that. Section 9, if any person shall persuade or attempt to persuade, entice, or cause any freedman, free Negro, or mulatto to quit their job, they are guilty of a misdemeanor. This is the side y'all are on, okay? They also put in an act to amend the vagrant laws of the state. And vagrancy basically means homelessness. That's all that it means. Section 2. Any Black person over 18 with no job is homeless. So it doesn't matter if you have a house and you're 18. If you don't have a job, according to the white man, you're homeless. So again, to the jigaboos that subscribe to jigaboology, how exactly was an 18-year-old in 1865 supposed to try to escape a criminal sentence? How exactly were they supposed to do that? And we also have to think about a time where white people could just lie on you, right? So let's say your birthday was just yesterday and you're walking the street and a white man stopped you. Legally, if you don't have a job and you just turned 18 yesterday, you're homeless and now you're a criminal. No Black man can have weapons if they are not in the military service or work for the police. So who cares if the Ku Klux Klan want to kill you? You can't have a gun. You can't. Now that I've briefly went over the history, right, that the conservatives put Black codes into place right after they freed us. Right after they freed us, they put in laws into place that kind of made it impossible to not be arrested. So now that I broke that down, I'm going to break down even further how Black on Black crime is an absurd stance to even have when you're talking about the progression of Black people, because Black on Black crime is not the one and only thing that is preventing us from being free. And they know that, but for some reason they just want to focus on that. So when we stop killing each other, then what? Right? But that's besides the point. Black on Black crime. I'm going to be referring to an article written by Bernard D. Headley. Bernard D. Headley, a professor of criminology and criminal justice at the Northeastern Illinois University. Those are his credentials. All right. I want us to sit down and really understand what were those coons' credentials when they were debating Miss Amanda Seals, who had a master's degree. What are their credentials? Okay. So I just want to reaffirm the person who wrote this article literally studies criminology for work. He wrote this article that I'm going to be referring to in 1983, long after slavery ended. Okay. Long after slavery ended. And don't get me wrong, y'all. I know these coons gonna be, you see, y'all only like to use back then history. Trust me, we're definitely gonna come to present day if you just sit and wait. So let's go back to the article, Black on Black Crime, the Myth and the Reality. Obviously, he introduces the article by letting us know what he plans on doing, how he plans on breaking it down, and what exactly Black on Black crime is and who pushes that rhetoric. I'll read to you exactly what he says on the first page of this article. This notion is being articulated not only by the white capitalist media, who profit from stories about crime, true, but also increasingly by leading figures among the Black petty bourgeoisie, politicians, academics, journalists, and law enforcement personnel. That sounds a lot like the coons that was on that Jubilee. The prevailing notion being, the Black on Black crime, this is what y'all are saying. The physical survival and well-being of the Black community in America is threatened more by the Black killing or stealing from other Black people than from external or systemic forces. So these people are spewing, but we kill each other. Y'all are basically saying that Black on Black crime is the reason why Black people haven't progressed, and it has absolutely nothing to do with the fact that Trump went on Twitter the other day and said slavery is not that bad. And obviously I took notes. The article is 13 pages, but it's a great read. I'm going to link it down below. You can read it for free, but you do have to pay if you want to download it. So with that being said, since these coons feel like Black on Black crime is what is threatening the progression of Black people, this man, shout out to you. This man breaks down all the systemic forces that are working against our progression and compares it to the Black on Black crime. And what I also like about him, how I know he's an intelligent intellectual, is he includes the statistics that yes, we are killing each other at outrageous rates. 100%. He includes the statistics. He talks about it. He says, yes, it is a fact. And then he says, but this is also a fact. Let me go ahead and read it off to you. About 60% of all police homicides between 1970 and 1972 in New York City were Black citizens. Do y'all think they deserved it? Okay. Clark, 1974, reports that 3/4 of all victims of police shootings between 1970 and 1973 half Hispanic, half Black. How convenient. Y'all think they deserved it too? Okay. So we're going to look at who, because I know these coons like to say, oh, it's because we're abrasive. Oh, it's because we're ghetto. Oh, it's because we're toxic. Oh, it's because we're aggressive. Oh, it's because we're violent. Let me read off these violent Blacks that deserved it. Birmingham, Alabama, a Black woman sitting in a car was shot to death by the police. Police answered a call regarding a robbery in progress. There is no connection with the woman. Police reinstated.
I don't know if I'm gonna last.
We're selling.
Tuscaloosa, Alabama, police turned a dog loose on a Black child who was in the vicinity of a robbery. So he wasn't even robbing people, y'all. It was a child and he was close to it. Did he deserve it? Okay. San Antonio, Texas, policeman Veverka, who gave state's evidence against white police beating of Black insurance executive Arthur McDuffie, was acquitted by an all-white jury. I'm gonna think in the mind of a coon and assume that you think Arthur McDuffie deserved that beating. Let's proceed. Jackson, Mississippi, a disturbed pregnant Black woman, Dorothy Brown, was shot down despite the attendance of a slew of police. Did she deserve to die? Coons, I'm talking to y'all. The 4 examples that I've used thus far, were those people being violent and were they being toxic? They weren't. Okay. Deerfield, Florida. Black youth was in a crap game. Police broke up game, chased youth, had him on the ground, shot him in the back of the head, ruled justifiable homicide by grand jury. Let me guess. All right, I'm already going to beat y'all to it. They shouldn't have ran. All right. Miami, Florida. Events leading to the McDuffie incident. Dade County narcotics detective got wrong address and beat up black school teacher. No police indicted. White highway patrolman molested 11-year-old girl, got her in his car by saying she was suspected of stealing candy. Policeman received psychiatric treatment but was not removed from duty. Moonlighting, highly police officer shot and killed black youth. Oh, he thought youth was armed. Actually, youth was peeing. And I really want to ask the questions to the coons, because I know the coons probably not gonna watch this, but this is my question to the coons. Why do you think there are no stories like this and the victims are white? Why do you think that is? Why do you think a police officer never just shot a white kid when he was peeing? Why do you think that is? Lastly, I'm going to refer to McDuffie a lot. Okay, well, this is the last time I'm going to refer to McDuffie. Rest in paradise. Arthur McDuffie, a black 33-year-old former Marine and insurance salesman, was beaten to death by Miami area policemen in December 1979. Several officers admitted that they had taken part of the savage beating, then smashed his motorcycle and falsified reports to make it look like it was an accident. I think my deep disdain for coons is because when I learn about this, because obviously all of this information I'm learning for the first time. I've never heard of all of these incidences. Mind you, we're not even talking about 2025, and there's a lot that happened as far as police brutality, right? And this article was written in the 80s, and he's using things that happened in the 70s and the 80s. I am pissed off. When I was doing my research, I was angry. Matter of fact, I'm still mad. Like, my mood is off. Every time I sit down and indulge in Black history, even when I was reading Homegoing, I was pissed off. This is a reason why I don't watch slave movies. Okay? It pisses me off. And I just don't understand how Black conservatives can ignore all of this history for the sake of the white man. Like, it makes no sense to me. It makes no sense. So after listing off all of those examples, because there's many more, but we have to move on. Okay, we have to move on. Rest in paradise to all of the lives lost because of the police. I'm going to read a direct quote. From the statistics and incidents above, the case can be made that police violence directed against Blacks in America represent a threat equally dangerous to the physical survival and well-being of the Black community to that of Black people killing other Black people. Do you guys think that's false? Should I use an example from recently when a Black lady called the police officer for assistance and he ended up going to the house and shooting her to death because he thought her holding a pot of boiling water was a weapon, so he shot her to death? That just happened like last year. Right? Now, another example that he uses. Death rates in the workplace. Now, I'm so glad I read this because I didn't even know this was a thing. And in this article, it basically gives us evidence that on a low work week, these workers were exposed on a daily basis to the amount of radiation to the entire body that would equate 5 x-rays. 5 x-rays of the chest. Workers suffered from leukemia. An example, Albert Patton. Medical doctors treating Albert Patton reported that the type of leukemia he developed was the type that is most commonly associated with radiation exposure. Okay. And this is the question that he asks at the end, because of course he uses a lot of different examples of people that have unfortunately passed away due to where they were working. And obviously when we're talking about the Black community, we know that there is a wealth gap between the Black community, and we live in low impoverished neighborhoods. We have to work these low paying jobs. So obviously a majority of the people in low paying jobs for some reason just so happen to be Black. So he asks a question at the end. A death resulting from a common or street crime may occur every 23 minutes. But a death resulting from preventable industrial causes occur every 4 minutes. I'm going to read that again, and I'm going to read it slow. A death resulting from a common or street crime may occur every 23 minutes. So the Black on Black crime occurs every 23 minutes. That's awful. That is terrible. But a death resulting from preventable industrial cause occurs every 4 minutes. Oh, that's way less than 23. I ask, he states, I ask, is permitting hazards at the workplace a lesser crime than street violence? Is it, coon? Is it? And obviously, we can't talk about the Black community without talking about economics. He basically talks about how there are a lot of shady business practices in places in the hood versus in the suburbs, okay? He says how certain business people charge Black people more versus what would be charged to a white person in the suburbs. And he's going to always use an example. On television sets, the general market retailer price is about $130. In a low income market, a customer can pay $250. So the people that you made poor, you're charging them more. Is that on accident, y'all? It's not. It's not. He also includes the disproportionate rates of death and maltreatment due to improper medical care. And I find it interesting how that was never brought up in the debate. I don't blame Amanda at all, but you see how it's very convenient for these Black conservatives to ignore things that actually matter. Why didn't y'all want to talk about the fact that Black women die more than any other race in this country when it comes to giving birth? Y'all think that's on accident? Okay. And again, I'm going to quote him again because he loves the questions, y'all. In a capitalist society such as the United States, social and economic relations are basically competitive and generate substantial inequities in the allocation of materials and resources. I know that's a lot of words. And basically they were saying that in a country that is capitalist, your social status and how much money you have will be a leading factor in materials and resources that are available to you. Okay? Period. Point blank. Capitalist societies are unable to guarantee economic security to most of their members. We see it. Thus, members must fend for themselves, finding the best available opportunities to provide for themselves and their families. Many forms of street crimes thus become logical, rational responses to the structure of institutions upon which capitalist societies are based. So if you constantly tell a Black person, no, you can't do this, you can't do that, how in the world will they make money? By stealing. How in the world are they going to feed their daughter tonight? They need some money, selling drugs. Am I saying it's okay? No. But what we are saying, the reason why there's such a rise of crime in Black neighborhoods is because they set that system up. And the fact that these coons love to ignore that is very telling. That's why we call y'all coons. Okay? That's why we call y'all coons. And that's why I will always refer to y'all as coons. Now, we're going to talk about systemic racism. Apparently it's not so obvious, but obviously it happens, right? For some reason, there was a study that was there's many studies that show that there are bias against people that have Black names versus white sounding names. And like, if you have a Black sounding name, they're not going to call you back. They're not even going to look at your resume. There are studies proving that this happens. Literally studies. You can Google that and it will literally show you the amounts of studies that have been done to prove that that is the case. Is that not systemic? Now, okay, I'm going to be referring to the assassination of Fred Hampton. how the FBI and the Chicago police murdered a Black Panther. And this was written by Jeffrey Haas. He was his attorney during the Black Panthers. He worked very, very closely with the Black Panthers when it was alive and well. So yeah, this is a really good book. Please read it. So he kind of opened my eyes into seeing how inherently racist even law school was. Being sworn after passing the bar, like he literally amplified that. And I had no idea, because who's going to teach us that? I'm going to be referring to chapter 4 titled Chicago Becoming a Lawyer. So he was becoming a lawyer in Chicago. I know y'all love to use the fact of not all white people were bad, not all white people we're talking about Chicago. We're not talking about down south. We're talking about Chicago, right? And this is long after slavery. And this is one of the examples that I'm going to show you guys of him fighting for the cause, okay? He worked for, again, the Black Panthers, and he also, instead of getting some high-paying lawyer job, he decided to use his degree to assist Black people that are being arrested for nonviolent crimes, helping them pay for their bail, helping them represent them in court, et cetera, et cetera. So one of the firms that he was working with was literally in charge of dismantling a bunch of racist bullshit. One of the things that they did started with the Bonner's Supper Club, okay? This Bonner's Supper Club was a private club. Only members could join, only members could come, only members could come and eat. It was a restaurant. It was a little thing going on that the white people had going on for them. So Jeffrey and a friend went there to prove that you don't have to be a member to come. You just have to be white. You just have to be white. So they come, they sit down, they eat. After they eat, Jeffrey asks for the waitress to give him a receipt and write her name and the date, to prove that, I'm obviously not a member, but for some reason, they still served me. So he takes that, and 3 months later, the same private club that only accepted members desegregated. It wasn't a private club only for members. It was a private club only for white people. At this point, it's 1967. The Civil Rights Act just passed in 1964. So it's still early on. It's 3 years right after they stopped segregation. But obviously in Chicago, remember y'all keep on saying not all white people was racist. Why were they racist in Chicago then? I'm confused. I thought all white people weren't bad. So why did they have a private club only for private, whole time they meant only for whites? In 1967? After segregation was outlawed? Okay. Now, again, we're talking about systemic racism. And I'm just going to use one example because I don't want to spend too much time on here, because we know that systemic racism is real. We know that it's real. We know that it's real. If you feel like it's not, Google it, because Google will fucking tell you. But I'm going to refer again to chapter 4 in Chicago Becoming a Lawyer, because in this chapter he talks about being sworn in. After he passed the bar, he took the train to the capital of Illinois to be sworn in. I have aspirations of becoming a lawyer. I've always wanted to be a lawyer. I have aspirations of going to law school. So this blew my mind, okay? Like I said, he went to the Capitol to be sworn in. And before you're being sworn in, there are obviously people that come and give speeches and all the things. I'm going to read to you the speech that was given on the day that he decided to come and be sworn in as an attorney. As young men and women about to be admitted to the bar, I feel compelled to warn you about the greatest danger to civil liberties, to our peace-loving society, that which threatens the very core of our nation, that which can only lead to destruction of harmony and to the promulgation of violence. I am talking about Black power. He was talking about Black power being the one to disrupt civil liberties and the loving society that just so happens to be inherently racist. We're talking about swearing a bunch of other white people into the bar. How is this not systemic? And I don't want, that's 1960. Like I said, I implore you guys to Google it yourselves and prove to us that systemic racism is not real. Please do not use, there's some Black people that I said, prove to me that systemic racism is not real. Show me it is not. You can't. Let's move on. Please, let's move on. Music industry, because I remember one little biracial looking lady was like,
let's look at music, for example.
We already had this conversation with somebody else.
Well, we're gonna have it again. Most of the people that
are we?
Most of the people.
I'm gonna shut it down right now and let you know that the reality is that when you come to black music, for you to say most of the people, you've already lost the argument.
Am I right?
There is no most of the people with black people because you haven't heard of all of black music.
Most of the music that is, let's say, maybe exalted or shown by the media, right?
And who controls those systems?
It defiles black Americans.
We get paid to rap about that stuff. They actually pay us more when we rap about more ignorant stuff, so I make sure I even align and come talk on stages like this. But you guys, the NAACP, open up doors for people like me to be able to power forward because...
Exactly. Why are they paying black people to speak more ignorantly or to spew? Why are they paying them more? Bear in mind, please understand, we're talking about poor black people. You mean to tell me you're going to pay me $50,000 to talk about smoking? Oh, I'm going to do it. We're talking about people that their only way out was the music industry. And you mean to tell me that if somebody is telling somebody that ain't never came from nothing, that they're going to pay him more the more ignorant he sounds? Bro, oh my God. Okay, the cognitive dissonance is very apparent among black conservatives. It really is, because the fact that y'all continue to ignore this shit is crazy, bro. Rolling Stone. There's an article on here that was written in 2020 by Elias Light. Okay, it is titled, "The Music Industry Was Built on Racism. Changing it will take more than donations." Yeah. And this was written after the death of George Floyd, rest in paradise. Obviously, everybody was pissed. Everybody was pissed. There was a bunch of strikes going on and blackouts and things like that. So this is when this was written. This article amplified the fact that the music industry is run by rich white people. Apparently, the coons don't know that, but it's run by rich white people. Okay, and they profit off of black culture. So there's that. And I just want to... The importance of black people in the music industry is obviously very important. There's a reason why there's not a lot of us in the music industry. So I want to talk about Kenneth Gamble. Okay, he's a producer, and in September of 1978, he tried to launch the BMA, which is the Black Music Association, and it was created to recognize and celebrate the economic and cultural power of black music, as well as those who made and promoted it. Duh. It was time for something new and more inclusive of all black music industry professionals, because we already know that it's not really diverse in the music industry. And he said this in 2015, okay? And the BMA was addressing both artists and executives, because we need more diversity as far as executives. And obviously, when you're a black executive, you're going to face a lot of racism. Now, unfortunately, the BMA did not last too long. And a direct quote from here, it was unable to withstand splintered agendas in the leadership. A lot of black executives now reference to BMA when they're talking about advocacy and inclusivity and just like speaking highly of black people in the music industry. It reaffirms and amplifies the fact that the music industry, as far as executives, is not diverse, is predominantly white, and those executives are the ones that control what media gets put out. Okay, and obviously black music, R&B, hip hop makes a lot of money, so why not? You know what I mean? They profit off of black culture. And I'll read a direct quote here. These concern the wildly uneven contracts that continue to earn the music business millions of dollars while passing on only a small amount of that wealth to artists. The myriad techniques in a music industry run predominantly by rich white executives uses to profit off black art. The term R&B was coined to replace race music. The charts, when a black artist who's in high demand walks into a record label and he sees the entire conference room is white, why does he say something then? So yeah, it's not just black people's fault as to why toxic music or our culture became toxic. It's not black people's fault. Like, we're not the ones that are in high seats by the masses like our counterparts. Honestly, like, after watching this, I'm super disappointed. Jubilee, I'm not really too sure what the goal is here with Jubilee and with the black conservatives, because realistically, when we're talking about black conservatives and we're talking about conservative people, period, white conservatives don't like you. They vote against your rights every chance that they get. So I'm not really too sure, like, where the dissonance comes in, why that's such a hard thing to understand. But yeah, like, they don't like you, bro. They never will. And it's proven with history and current events. As far as Jubilee, why are we constantly platforming these incredibly harmful rhetorics? Like, I just don't understand it. Like, why are you platforming these people that don't have education? And I'm trying to understand how Jubilee vets these people. Like, do you check if they have degrees? Like, what are the credentials that you need to be able to go on Jubilee and debate somebody? Because for me, it seems like y'all just be pulling random people up off the street. And then when the video drops, we have several people with common sense, but then we have, like, I've been seeing so much jigabooology on my For You page. It's insane. Like, I didn't even know that there were this many coons. I really had no idea that there were this many black people that hated black people. I had no idea. And now I know. Shout out to Amanda Seals, much love. Thank you for the work that you put in, and thank you for going on Jubilee to speak to people like me that care about the facts. You know what I mean? Because a lot of people, again, on my For You page, I am seeing a lot of people, speaking out against it or whatever. But anyway, I'm gonna close the video. Thank y'all so much for watching. I hope y'all like, comment, and subscribe. I'm gonna end the video with nothing but peace and love, and I will see y'all in the next one. Bye.